All right, let's get you over to the press room so you can hear from Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault postgame.
Mark, what stood out about the offensive execution today? Just the balance and the way that you were able to generate points.
Yeah, what actually stood out was Sacramento and Washington. Those two games, we really got better, I thought, offensively in terms of how we want to play from an identity standpoint, and the shots didn't fall. And the optics of your offense always looks different based on whether or not the shots are going in. And I thought the team showed great maturity because we weren't making a ton of shots early in the season, but we just continued to improve the things that generate good shots. And tonight we got good shots again, as we have the last two games, and they fell. So to me, it was more about the persistence that we've shown, through a rough shooting stretch, more so than how we played tonight in a vacuum.
Talked about it a little in the preseason, but with not going with Hart and Jay Will at all last season, you guys dealt with injuries last year. Obviously, both of those guys dealt with injury, but it would seem like you would still use those two. But was there something that they did this summer together that you felt like you can use those two together? It just seemed like they had really good chemistry tonight.
Yeah, I think Jay Will's shooting and skill gives you the option to do that. He's also improved defensively to a point where it's broadened the range of matchups he can take. And there's certain situations where we think that's advantageous. Tonight was one of them, and we think there's others. So it's just another option for us. It's another tool that we're trying to develop at appropriate times during the season. Tonight felt like an appropriate time.
Seemed like you guys were really operating in that free throw line extended area. Was that something that you guys saw in film watching them that you could take advantage of, or was just the way the game went tonight?
It's the way the game went. We mixed our looks. I thought the guys did a great job, especially early in the game, just with the force that we played with on offense. There was just a sharpness and a speed to our actions and our organization that was really good. And so, like I said, I thought that's been the case the last couple games. It always looks and feels different when the shots go in. But I think the persistence when the shots weren't going in, the maturity to understand that we were on the right track and not to get distracted by, the point total or the shooting numbers, I thought was, to me, that was the takeaway tonight.
Cason Wallace is a high impact player, but pretty low usage player. What have you seen from him developmentally so far in these few games?
Offensively? Yeah. I think it happens with guys that are high impact. They don't get seen as developmental players. He's a young player that's got a lot of runway and a lot of career ahead of him. Holmgren's like that. He's another high impact player now with a high floor, but that has a ceiling as well. And Cason's like that. So it's a responsibility we have, to squeeze everything we can out of that, because he's going to be in the game. He's too good of a competitor. He's too good defensively. He's too impactful not to be in the games. So it's a matter of, can we develop a guy that's going to be out there as holistically as we can? And he's made great progress, which is starting to show up and will hopefully continue to show up.
Yeah. I was going to say, do you have thoughts on these early afternoon games?
No, I don't know. Get to eat dinner.
On paper, this team is pretty much the same from last year. But from a coaching lens, what's the most satisfying sign of growth that you've seen so far this season? Is it shot selection, maturity, composure?
I just think it has not been smooth sailing through the first 7 games. We've played a lot of close games that we've had to kind of grind out. We've played some games in the mud, which you have to be able to win a lot of different ways. And so embracing the game when it's a little ugly, I think, is important. We've got some injuries, and so we've had to lean on our depth and different combinations of people. And so I just think the persistence of the team, even the shooting, we've not shot the ball well until tonight. Tonight's the first night above a certain number, I'm sure. And so the persistence that the team showed in all those different situations, I think it builds a muscle, as you go through the season, and you can grow through these experiences. And the team's done a good job of that through 7 games with 75 to go.
Really interesting perspective there from Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault, talking about the persistence of this Thunder group. pointing out the fact that they hadn't gotten off to a great start this season shooting the ball, but they were doing a good job generating quality looks. And the fact that this group stuck with it and now the shots are starting to fall is a great sign of their persistence so far this season.
Yeah, the veteran, seasoned, smart observers of basketball that have watched the Thunder for a long time understand, can we say it all the time about how volatile shooting can be? And you don't want to be misled by the fact of saying, oh, the offense wasn't good tonight, or the ball movement was bad, or the ball got stuck, or whatever, just simply because shots didn't go in. Because the ball movement has been improving steadily, but it did look exceptional tonight. I will say, as an observer of basketball, it does look slightly more pretty when the ball goes in the basket.
It's like, something about it.
It's like it pays off the possession a little bit, but the ball popped around tonight, and the offense looked really sharp. And, of course, the threes went in, which made it look just that, like, extra 5% better.
You know what they say, a spoonful of sugar. It helps that medicine go down. So seeing those shots fall for Oklahoma City, certainly a beautiful sight this afternoon on this beautiful Sunday matinee. All right, stick with us here on Thunder Live. When we come back, we're talking about the multiple contributions we had in this one, a full team effort, including Case and Wallace throwing it down. The Thunder heading out west with a road trip that begins in LA, facing off against the Clippers. When we come back, we'll get you the scouting report. Everything you need to know as the Thunder heads out to Intuit Dome. The Thunder with a balanced win against the Pelicans here today. 8 players scored in double figures. And one of those guys, Aaron Wiggins, he's addressing the media right now. Let's listen in.
Aaron, at this point, when teams change defenses in the middle of a game, how instantaneous does it feel like you all are kind of just switching into whatever offensive flow you need to have to combat that?
Yeah, that's something that we kind of, talk about in practice, being able to recognize, when teams are switching into specific schemes defensively. And the better we're able to respond to that, the better it makes us as a team. So, whether it's zone, matchup zone, man, being able to recognize that is huge for us. And that helps take us to another level. So.
Mark was kind of saying that the day that you had offensively today has really been building through the week. Did you feel that, and kind of what sense did you have about, you all making strides and improvements through the week?
Yeah, last game I think I went 0 for 6 from 3, and then I had a good practice and, just mentally felt good. So coming in today, I kind of felt like it was going to be a better game, and, my guys found me, saw a couple fall early, and, that just kind of opened the door for it.
You guys have obviously been dealing with injuries, but it seems like Isaiah Hartenstein has been a real source of consistency for you guys, especially tonight. 14 boards, 14 points, 8 assists. Just how big has he been, and just in what ways do you see that he is impacting the game so much?
Yeah, he's been huge. He plays the game the right way. He's a winner. He's been great, with matchups and rebounding, obviously, and then the passing aspect of his game helps us a lot also. So it's been no surprise. It's been who he's been since he's gotten here, and he was good for us tonight.
Had an increased role, some of it due to injuries, but just how have you felt your game improve so far this season?
I work on every part of my game in the off season. So, when the opportunity presents itself, I'm not necessarily shy of, stepping into, a bigger role, and, being aggressive in that sense. So, I felt good, felt comfortable, in the different positions, and, hopefully just kind of continue to carry it over throughout the season.
Take me through that breakaway dunk.
I didn't know what Trey Murphy was going to do, if he was going to commit to me, or I think it was Isaiah Joe beside me. So I was kind of staring him down just to kind of figure out and get a feel of, what he might do. But Kaysen kind of took off right before the play before, so I was like, I gotta get myself a dunk. So.
Shai, at this point, just how quickly does it feel like you guys are kind of all 5 in sync, recognizing coverage, shifting to what you want to get to, and it just seemed like you're able to pierce the defense regardless of what look they gave you immediately?
Yeah, I really feel like as a team we used the past couple. We had a few days off. We had some really good practices, and usually in those practices we work on our attacks, just because teams throw so many defenses at us. I think we're doing a better job of just chipping away at that. Obviously, the better you get, the more teams trying to junk it up and throw different things at you as a player and as a team. And the more prepared we are for everything, the better off we'll be. And I think we attacked it pretty good the other day in practice.
obviously once you guys get into the lane, that creates those kick out opportunities. But even if that first one isn't there, it seemed like you guys are making the extra pass as well. Just how much does that speak to the unselfishness of this team, and how big was that tonight for you guys?
Yeah, we have a DNA, we have an identity, we understand how to play basketball, and we understand how to win games, big moments, and it's done with all 5 guys on the court on both ends. And that's engraved in us. That's something that is almost a habit now. And every night we try to implement that. And tonight we did a really good job of it from jump. And the more minutes, seconds, quarters we can put together like that, the better off we'll be as a unit. And we know that. And that's something that we hang our hat on.
You think did you get better looks tonight? Shots go in. What do you think?
I honestly feel like, good question. I don't know. It felt like more shots went in, but I also feel like we've been getting good looks to start the season. They just haven't been falling. And like a lot of averages always evens out, and we have good shooters on this basketball team, and they're going to go in as long as they keep getting good looks. Tonight we got good looks, what felt like the whole game, and they went in and had a big lead. But as long as we keep playing with the right intention and keep making plays for each other and getting each other good looks, they'll go in more often than not.
And they certainly went in this game here today as the Thunder round out the homestand, and now they head out west for a 4-game road trip that begins in Los Angeles to face the Clippers on Tuesday. That's the first night of a back-to-back, because after that, Oklahoma City going to go up to Portland to face off against the Trailblazers on Wednesday, then come back to California, face the Kings on Friday, and then how about this? In the road trip, all the way out over Oklahoma City to get to Memphis and face the Grizzlies on Sunday. So a nice test for the Thunder heading out west with a 4-game road trip that begins with a matchup against the LA Clippers. And this Clippers team, always one that is going to be a challenge, just given the fact that it is a veteran roster and you have a lot of potent offensive players up and down that lineup.
Really deep team. They play a lot of different players.
Yeah.
And like you said, of course, they're headlined by some future Hall of Famers and Kawhi Leonard, James Harden. They made the addition of Bradley Beal. He's gotten out on the court recently and finally kind of back and looking a little more healthy. They add John Collins, who's an underrated pickup for them, but there's a lot of good players up and down that list. Again, they're veteran, they're older, but those are a lot of good players on that team.
I mean, the average age, 30 years old. It's the oldest team in the NBA, but to your point, everywhere you look on this depth chart for the Clippers, you have to account for them. Guys who have really, really good ability to get things going offensively. And a couple of headliners. How about Kawhi Leonard so far this season averaging 23 points per game?
Yeah, when he's available and healthy, he's as good a player as there is in the NBA. He's dynamic in the mid-range. He's obviously one of the great defenders. Speaking of dynamic, James Harden still doing it even at this age. He's been one of the best offensive players for 15 years running now. He's so good with the ball in his hands, so crafty, so difficult to guard, and it's going to provide the Thunder a pretty big challenge.
Stay up late with us on FanDuel Sports Network. That game tips off at 10 p.m. Central Time, and Thunder Live will get you going at 9:30. I know we're going to need a couple cups of coffee to stay awake for that one, but for Oklahoma City, Royce, as you look ahead to this game against the Clippers, what carryover, especially on the offensive end, can the Thunder take with them out west?
Well, I think just kind of continuing to build on what Coach Mark talked about of just the last few games they've been stacking some good possessions together, some good games together in terms of looking more like the Thunder, the ball popping around, the ball finding the open man, good to great shots, all that sort of stuff. And then, of course, you add the cherry on top, the sugar, as you said, of the ball going in the basket a little bit more, makes it all feel a little bit better. But, you know, that's a big part of it. It's just kind of continue that grind, continue that flow that the Thunder have really built, because the more you play in rhythm offensively, like Shai said, the law of averages are going to even out because of the talent and the shooting talent that's on this team.
Yeah, you're going to have some regression back to the mean. You're going to get evened out over the course of the game if you just keep playing the right way. And the Thunder certainly played the right way in this one here today as they took down the New Orleans Pelicans. You know, Royce, I like the fact that we had a 2:30 game and then we get to go and play a 10 p.m. game just in a few days out west in LA. But thanks so much for tuning in today as the Thunder faced off against the Pelicans in this wonderful Sunday matinee matchup. Everybody got involved. Everybody eats in this one. 10 guys, 12 guys scoring for the Thunder, 8 in double figures, and the Thunder head out west to face the Clippers on Tuesday. That game tips off at 10 p.m. Thunder Live will get you going at 9:30. Until then, thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day.